Hello and welcome to the Busy Mom Show, the show to help moms and their families thrive. I'm your host, Dr. Leonaura Rhodes. Before I start my interview today, I want to tell you a little bit about the concept for the show. I've been helping women and their families for over 20 years as a physician, coach, neurotherapist, and with my book, Beyond Soccer Mom, Strategies for a Fabulous Balanced Life. The next natural step for me was the Busy Mum Show, where I bring you interviews with top experts on topics ranging from health and fitness, fashion, peak performance, and today we're going to be talking about menopause. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. And so today I'd like to introduce you to Jodi Brichta-Coyne. Jodi is a life coach, a strategic interventionist, a relationship coach, and she mainly works with women and moms who run small businesses. And so Jodi and I today are going to be talking about life as a woman and about menopause. So welcome, Jodi. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Leonora. I appreciate it.
So I've got your book here. I've got it on Kindle, which doesn't show up very well on the screen. And your book's called Are You Still There, God? It's Me, Jodi. So tell us a little bit about your journey and why you wrote your book.
Okay. When I was younger, I don't know if you're familiar with it because you're from the UK, but we all read this book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, by Judy Blume. And that book just stuck with me through the years because it was a time when girls were entering into puberty and they didn't know what was going on with their bodies and they were confused and emotions were going all over the place and they didn't know who to ask. So I use that in relation to what us moms are going through when we're hitting into our 40s and we're entering into another new era called perimenopause. And our emotions again are all over the place and we're trying to figure out our purpose and our identity, and we kind of get lost in the noise because we're doing everything for everybody. And so I used that and I explained my journey. At one point, I owned a cafe and I had 2 young children and I was running around and I got real sick. And I had adrenal fatigue. I couldn't move. I had like fibromyalgia. I was having headaches. I was like, what's wrong with me? And nobody would help me. And I felt as a mother, like I needed a support system and I didn't have one.
Yeah.
So I went to the doctor and she was just like, well, here, honey, just take some birth control and antidepressant and everything will be all better. And I was like, no, that's not the answer. So I went on a journey to figure that out. And that's what the whole book is about, is my journey. And I give just tidbits of what I did and realizing that everybody's body is different. You all have to figure your own body out, but you have to stick with it and figure out different things to make it work, like changing your diet. Not everybody, eats the same. So you have to figure out what works for you. Exercise, some people like to walk, some people like to spin, some people like to swim, figure out what works for you.
Yes.
And taking supplements and being mindful and meditation and all these things I started doing for me for once. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a secret route that I never even knew existed because nobody told us.
Yes.
So I wanted to get that out in my book and I put it into Are You There, God? It's Me, Jodi. So moms out there can realize that they're not alone.
Yes, and I love the way you explain your story in it, and it really was kind of a journey of kind of being a detective and finding out your own way, wasn't it? It's
right.
And it's really just to apologize to everybody on behalf of the medical profession. As you know, Jodi, I used to be a doctor in the UK, and the problem with medical training is that it's you're taught that there is really kind of only one way, and if you have these symptoms, here's a bunch of things it could be, and these are the treatments. And doctors aren't very good at being creative and thinking that people are different, and as you say, we all have very different bodies and different things going on in our lives, and you really have to find what works for you. There is no magic wand. It is about being a detective and finding out what works for you. So your book really gives people a good strategy of how to do that, and I love that. It's it's very much needed in the world today. Tell us why you decided to. I know you were in the corporate world and then had your cafe. Why did you decide to go into coaching?
It kind of just, all the signs were there. I was like picking up popcorn along my trail, and I have always been helping people along the way.
Yeah.
And even when I had the cafe, the biggest joy that I got out of that was talking to people. So I almost felt like I was like a bartender. I'd be by the coffee area and everybody would be telling me, what was challenges in their lives and this and that. And I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
So that was actually setting me up for what I needed to do in this next phase of my life.
Yeah.
So it was interesting how you can pick up the pieces. Like corporate, I took a little piece of. Owning a business, I took a little piece of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I'm helping other moms who are stuck as well, or other business owners who are like, but there's got to be something more. Like I don't want to be just going through the motions of each day, wondering what's next.
Yeah.
I'm like, you create it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it just kind of fell into my lap, and I hired a coach too, and that kind of put the.
Yes,
I was like, wow, there's a whole world out here that's amazing.
Yeah, and we've both done a similar training route with the strategic intervention coaching with Tony Robbins and Chloe Madanas. It's great to have strategies in our life to get over those hurdles, and also, as you say, with coaching, to know that you're not alone, and that there are other people out there who nobody's ever been through quite what you've been through, but there are people there who can help you and understand you and guide you, and the work you do is so invaluable. There's so many stressed women out there today, and it has a big impact. I say this in my book, it has a big impact on the whole family.
Yes.
It's not selfish to nurture yourself. It's really essential. So
it is.
So let's talk a bit more about perimenopause. I think, a lot of women, everybody knows about the menopause, but the perimenopause is a bit more of a kind of woo-woo, it's kind of, she's got hot flashes and, just get over it. And I think, the perimenopause is not that well understood. So tell us a little bit about what you found out in your journey about perimenopause and how other women, I certainly am going through that phase at the minute. I'm just constantly saying, is it just me or is it hot in here? That's another book title left for you, Jodi.
That is a good one, actually.
So tell us about what you know about perimenopause and how women can help themselves.
Well, through my research, and I'm not a doctor, I'm just a mom, going on the journey. Through my research, I come to realize that when I had all these symptoms, my whole hormonal system was off balance. Yeah. And I was like, well, what can I do to correct this? Mm-hmm. So I really researched, and Suzanne Summers' books are amazing if you want to learn more about this. But I took her books and then I researched it even more and then researched it even more. I love to research. But what I found out is that my estrogen and my progesterone and my testosterone were totally off. So I had found a doctor actually in Connecticut in Glastonbury. She's part of the Body Logic MD, that they have offices all over the United States. And she finally looked at me from a holistic standpoint and said, okay, well, I can do your blood work and we can get results there. And I can do saliva testing to test your adrenals, because obviously you're taxed out because you're so stressed out. And then we can look at your diet and your lifestyle and your relationships and all the other things that came into place. And that she was the first one that spent an hour with me asking me all these questions. And I was like, wow, so they really do interconnect. So when I started fixing that part of it, just the hormonal part of it, I had got bioidentical hormone cream that I rubbed in. Wow, I was sleeping through the night. I was like, wow, I haven't slept through the night in so long. I would wake up between 2 and 4 and be stuck in that time. And that's a sign of adrenal fatigue. And then she gave me estrogen, which leveled out my estrogen, because I was putting myself in estrogen dominance, which brings on a lot of other symptoms. So, and then I was realizing what I was eating was pure crap, and drinking coffee, which is horrible and for somebody going through that.
Yes.
So I had to make adjustments. And as I did, and as I started exercising more and taking care of me and nourishing my soul, all of a sudden the symptoms started lifting up. So I actually got myself out of perimenopause. Like right now, I feel fine. I sleep through the night. I exercise, a few times a week, not as much as I want to, but as much as I can. I eat 80-20 rule. 80% I eat well, I have to have that cake once in a while. With that glass of wine, I'm normal. But no, I really pay attention to what I feed my body and mind.
Yes.
And now I'm, you know what I mean? And now I'm getting ready for the menopausal stage, but at least I'm in the right mindset where other moms, they just seem to be crumbling during the stage because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's a very scary stage, isn't it? It's like,
it is, because then you start lashing out at your family.
Yeah.
You're getting a hot flash or you're like, your patience level, you feel yourself boiling and you just burst out to your children and, and then your relationship with your husband is not right and you lose communication and it's a downfall. It just trickles down, it just makes everything horrible.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
there are steps that you can take, and in your book too, there's steps that you can take to actually lift yourself out of that.
Yeah.
The actual symptoms, you can go to a doctor and get that as long as you don't get synthetic hormones. I'm so against that.
Yeah, me too. And I went to see my own gynecologist, who's just a regular, OB/GYN or whatever you call them here. And she literally just patted me on the head and said, "It's just the perimenopause."
Yeah, that's what I get.
And I'm like, yeah, but I would like to kind of know what's going on in my body and whether I can do something about it, because, if there are things that you can do to improve your life, we should be doing those. We should really be going out of our way to become, happy and healthy in all areas of our life, because we only have one life, and you don't want to waste like 15 years of your life as a woman feeling bad and feeling like you're not yourself and feeling stressed all the time. It's really not a good way to be living your life, and it does have a big impact on everybody and your ability to to contribute and to create and to help other people. So we really do owe it to ourselves to kind of figure this out and to be as healthy as we can possibly be.
Right.
And I'll have to talk to you some more about that and get your doctor's name, because there are so many, doctors who just, shrug their shoulders and say, this is just a life phase, just deal with it.
Yes. And that's what my doctor said when she offered me birth control, at 40. And I was like, no, I don't want birth control at 40. And I don't want an antidepressant. I don't want to be numbed. I was numbed at one point in my life, and I don't want to be numb again. I want to enjoy life.
Yes.
But that, like you said, doctors are only trained in treating symptoms.
Yes.
So they're not looking at, oh my God, this woman is falling apart, but they just numb her.
I know, absolutely. I think it's good. Certainly here in the US, there are a growing number of these kind of integrative medicine doctors and naturopaths and people like that. And I think that, as long as they have the right kind of training, then there are some great doctors out there. They're just pretty hard to find, and often insurance won't cover them, and it's very frustrating trying to find the right kind of help. But it is great to know that there are people out there who will listen.
They're popping up more and more and more, starting to take insurance.
Yes.
So
that's great. Absolutely.
Tuning into your girlfriends and searching, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So in your book, one of the latter chapters is about your awakening. Was your awakening, was it a moment, or did it occur over a period of time? I think most people who work in personal development have had their own personal awakening at some time. And, sometimes it's something that happened gradually, and sometimes it was just a moment, an aha moment where they're like, I've got to change my life. How was it for you?
I think it evolved over time, but my aha moment that I explained in my book was I was taking a walk on a hiking trail near my house, and I remember just tuning into all of the leaves falling, and it was fall, it was beautiful, and it was so colorful, and I remember just tuning into everything, and I just felt like a big at ease just came over me.
Yeah.
And I just put out my hand, and this large cover leaf just like danced into my hand. And that moment, I was just like, everything's going to be okay. That's what I felt. I was like, it's going to be okay. Like all of my worries and my nerves and stress and everything just kind of just lifted away. And I was like, it's going to be okay. You know, and I just went on my walk, and I lived in that now moment.
Yeah.
On that entire walk. I just didn't think of anything else but just tuning into my entire environment and the beauty of fall in the Northeast. And I was like, okay, I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would just breathe. Yeah. That's my number one thing to anybody is just breathe. You know, just be mindful of your breath.
Yeah, you gave me goosebumps when you said that. And I think, you know, it's a very big problem. I know you and I both kind of teach this and talk about it a lot. The lack of presence and mindfulness is an increasing problem in society today. And just yesterday, a friend was complaining on Facebook about how, you know, somebody had gone through a four-way stop and nearly hit her, and you know, that kind of behavior and attitude is going on all over the world. And I think, you know, electronics and, you know, iPhones and all of this don't help, because they make us very distractible and very, you know, our attention's very short. But it is really, really important that we learn and actually that we teach our children, as you say, to take a moment and just appreciate the silence and the beauty of nature, and, you know, the fact that we have things in our life that are great, even when, you know, we might not be feeling very good. And, you know, there's a lot of evidence that gratitude and just taking that time is really, really good for your brain and for your whole body. And people are just not doing it enough. So it's great to hear you teaching that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think patience, I mean, we all lack patience sometimes, but especially a perimenopausal mom, she loses it really quickly because, you know, your emotions are tied in with your hormones. So you snap and you just break, and you can cry at any moment, and, you know, you can eat, you know, I mean, all of this is just tied together. And in one section of my book, this is what made me take a turning point and realize that there's got to be a better way. Was I was watching my two children fight. And at one point my daughter started screaming at my son, and they're 20 months apart. And I was like looking at a movie. I was like, that's me. She's turning into me. That's how I sound. And I just started bawling, and I cried my eyes. I sat on my island and I cried my eyes out. And this little 6-year-old comes over, and he puts his arm around me, and he cups my chin, and he turns around and he goes, "Mommy, it's going to be okay. We won't fight anymore." And I was like, oh my God, I'm the worst mother ever.
Yeah, and we all have those moments. Believe me, I get texts from friends on a weekly basis, you know, telling me about how they've lost their temper with their children, and oh, I feel so bad. And you know, it is kind of normal, but you know, I think it's good to notice when that's happening, because it is a sign, isn't it? It's a sign that
was my sign.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You have to do this not only for you, but for them.
Yes.
You know, that was my why.
Yeah. So
I had to be lifted up.
Yeah. I talk a lot about balance, and in fact the subtitle of my book is Strategies for a Fabulous Balanced Life, because I think, you know, it's one of the things that women are really craving. And you and I are both kind of juggling you know, home and family and work. Do you have any tips for women who are in the same situation, juggling all of that?
You know, I just say, just take it one day at a time. You know, what works one day is not going to work the next day when you get a call from the school and you got to go pick up your sick kid. Then it messes up your whole, you know, what you had planned for the day. So you kind of have to learn to go with the flow. You know, see it for what it is. Don't make it more than what it is. So, you know what, that day, you know, you have a plan together, but be prepared for those sudden shifts.
Absolutely.
It's not the end of the world. Some things can wait. You know what I mean? Like if you're at work, you have to leave. You have to leave. It's your child. You know what I mean? Or you have to find somebody to fill in for you. But it's not the end of the world. And I think some women get so attached to their jobs. They're like, I can't leave. You know, I'm going to get in trouble. You know, I have nobody to fill. But what is your priority? Is your child your priority? So can you get somebody to get your child, or you need to get your child? Like,
yeah,
see what comes first in your life, because they're only young for so long.
Yes.
And then they're gone.
I know. How old are your children now, Jodi?
Mine are 10 and 12.
Oh, okay. So they're younger than mine. My 16 and 14-year-old are both homesick today. So like you were just saying this morning, I'm like, trying to arrange all to kind of keep them quiet while I'm recording this. And, I had a moment of thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't do the show. And then I'm like, nope, I'm going to do it. And we're incredibly resourceful beings, us women, aren't we?
We have to be flexible. We have
yeah. Totally.
And that's part of the balance, I think, is allowing yourself to be flexible.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And to forgive yourself, as you say, when sometimes you have to go off the plan.
Right.
And so any last tips for women out there who are maybe, just feeling overly stressed or worrying that they might be going through perimenopause? Maybe they've recognized some of the symptoms that you've been talking about today, and any tips that you could give them to start kind of taking control today?
I'd say the number one thing is to be aware.
Yeah.
Don't just dismiss it saying, oh, it's whatever. I'm just going to have to go through this. My mother told me, like, it's going to get worse. I said, no, it's not, because I'm going to find a way out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't gone through full-blown menopause yet. And I'm hoping that it'll be easier for me knowing what I know now.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm hoping that transition, and I'm going to try to embrace it and say, this is actually a passage through to wisdom, because once you get on the other side, that's what it is. It's the maiden mother crone. You have to pass through each life phase.
Yeah.
And in the end, that's it. You're going to pass on that wisdom to the next generation coming up.
Yeah.
So find a doctor who will work with you if you have bad symptoms. Absolutely. Don't just take one doctor's word for it. If you don't like that answer and it doesn't resonate with you, find somebody else.
Yes.
It might take, 2 or 3 doctors to go through before their answer fits with you. Yes. But follow your intuition. You know what your body's going through. It's hard for them to determine in 8 minutes what your body is going through. Yeah. Right? And all of your other circumstances as well. So number one is just be aware and find help. Reach out to your girlfriends, get a coach, yeah. Reach out to people, because we're here to help, and you're here to help. And, it's easier when everybody just grabs arms and goes through it together.
Definitely. The worst thing is to feel that you're alone and
yes.
that you're the only one that's suffering. So that's fabulous advice. Well, we're coming to the end of the interview. So Jodi, would you like to share with us how our viewers can find out more about you and maybe get in touch with you? Do you have a website that you can share with us?
Sure. You can go to www.keepmeandmommy.com.
Yeah.
And you can also find me on Facebook. I am on Facebook as Mom Goddess Coach. And you can reach out to me by email as well. It's jodi@momgoddesscoach.com.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your words of wisdom and for sharing your story with us today. And thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this show, please like, share, and subscribe. And head on over to thebusymomshow.com to watch more episodes. Have a fabulous day. Bye for now.